Welcome everybody to Geekvice episode 205, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph, that man's Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening.
We are back after I guess we really weren't, we recorded last week too. I feel like we've been gone for a while. I feel like this last week has been the longest week in history, but it still was only 7 days.
Yeah, well, that was 7 very long days.
Yes, it was. So I'm trying to think. I don't think we have really any announcements other than the normal stuff. Everything's still going strong. Everything's out there. Oh, I do have one question. Did Holly release another episode yet?
No, not yet.
She said she was gonna record over the weekend.
I think she said that every weekend so far.
I think so. I'm gonna have to chastise her some more. So.
Yeah, I think once this stuff with her mom settles down, she'll get back into the swing.
Yeah, I can understand that. Over the weekend we did have a big little get together, which if you are following us on Facebook or any of the Podcast Arcade on Facebook, you would have seen our Facebook live stream from the the Podfathers compound in Omaha, and us doing a little live table read of our Christmas special, which was fun to do. I had a blast doing that.
Yeah, yeah, that was a good time.
And what was not recorded on the live stream was you, me, and Eddie playing Golden Axe and what was the other stuff that we played? Altered Beast.
Altered Beast, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat.
Did we play Shinobi or did we just see that it was
I think
there?
we just saw it. We didn't play it because that's a single player game. So we were kind of sticking to like multiplayer, like 2-player games. But this was all on like the Sega Genesis like Classic or whatever. I don't even know what it's called, but it's the one that's got kind of like the Nintendo ones that are out that have all the games already pre-recorded onto the console. That's what this was, but it was all Sega Genesis games. It had 200 some games on there, and yeah, after you left, Eddie and I went back down and tried to do some of the fatalities for Mortal Kombat and realized how hard those actually are, and I even looked them up so that I had the directions, but still trying to pull them off. The funny thing was, though, that I'm pretty sure Eddie won like once. That's really it. So I'll chalk it up to it was like 12:30 at night and he was tired. So, but
Yeah,
I was kicking the crap out of him.
it was a good time. I mean, all the video gaming stuff we did. We had a Rocket League tournament.
Oh, that's right. That's right. With this guy
Which
finishing second, I'll
you
take
came in
second.
second.
I'm okay with that.
I actually won a game, which I felt like that was almost as good as winning the whole tournament because I
Right.
didn't think I was going to win a game.
Well, and what was it? It was Andy who won the whole thing from Paranormal Dads, right?
Yeah. He was the only one that didn't talk shit,
Yeah, and
and
he
he ended up
won.
schooling everybody. So there you go.
Yeah, I talked shit through the whole time. I played Eddie's wife in the first match, and that was funny because like I'm well, one we both played terrible, and I just happened to win just because I don't know, dumb luck. Um,
Well, if you watched her half of the screen, you never saw the ball.
so that's how I won
You
because
saw the wall a lot,
I was
but
terrible, and I'm gonna chalk it up to I just hadn't played. I haven't played Rocket League since you, me, and Eddie played cross-platform like years
a couple of
ago.
years ago, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to look into maybe doing some like Geekvice event, and I can if we can I'll have to look into some voice chat stuff and see if there's some cross-platform voice chat stuff that we could do, or maybe even just do a YouTube live one, and I can record the whole thing, and we'll.
Or we can do some sort of Kickstarter that gets you a PlayStation 4, and then you can just play along.
Or we could do that. I mean, I won't say no to somebody sending me some cash to allow me to get a PS4. I would not complain with that. That's probably the only way it's happening, because there's
That's kind of what I figured.
there's a few other purchases that are coming before, which one of them is going to be a new computer. So that is on my list of things to build. So it'll which should actually help with the recording. I'm going to build a specifically purposed desktop computer for podcast streaming and video game streaming. So that is going to happen in the.
So what we need to do is come up with a nickname for his new computer that one day he'll own.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what that nickname will be. We should probably. I don't know. You can comment on this video or on the podcast on iTunes with your thoughts on
I'm going to start
what
off
this should
with the Beast, and if you can come up with something better than that, email us at geekvice@gmail.com.
be. There you go. There you go.
And yes, I'm drinking whiskey for those who are actually watching.
I don't blame you there. Don't blame you there at all. So let's see. Let's get this week. We are going board game heavy.
Yay!
So we are back to the board games, and well, one, I got this new board game. Our neighbors actually got it for the kids, and I don't know, it's not really a board game. There's no board. It's really just cards. So, but it is super fun to play and super fast and for all ages and extremely easy to learn. So, the game is called Super Mario Brothers Power Up Card Game. Long name, super easy. Have you ever played BS? The card game? Bullshit?
Probably.
So, BS was one of those games where you had a bunch of people around, you dealt out the entire deck of cards, you had cards in your hand, and then you started off, first person played down, twos, and they would say 2 twos, and if you thought they were lying because you had 3 twos in your hand, you called bullshit and they had to take the pile. And you went 2s, 3s, 4s around the table, and so the stack could get really large if everybody is 1, either telling the truth, or 2, really good at bluffing. The bluffing mechanic there is used in this Super Mario Brothers power-up card game. And it is a lot of fun. It is really fun when you play with an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old who can't bluff to save their lives. Conley, my 5-year-old's favorite thing is he will pick up his card, his level, because you are each given a level card that has a number on it. You can see it right there. This one is 3. The numbers range from 1 to 12.
To and 1 billion.
That is your, that is the number of coins that are actually on your level. And as the level is how difficult your level is. The higher the number, the better. So it's always funny when Conley gets it, because no matter if the card is a 10 or higher, he immediately says, "Oh, I'm just going to keep this 1." Every time.
I wonder what that could be.
So, but the idea is, so you pass around these cards. So if you've got 3 people, each person gets a card. And you get to decide, your first decision is, Do you want to trade with the person to your left? If you want to trade, then you trade. The person to your left has no say one way or the other. You either trade or you don't. You get to decide. If you decide to trade, you get their card. You don't get to look at it first. You just get their card. So you give them yours, you get theirs, and hopefully you're higher. Sometimes you're not. And it moves to the next person. That person can decide if they want to trade to the person to their left. All the way back around to when it's back to the dealer. The dealer gets to decide, does he want to trade with the top card of the deck or keep the one that he has? Then, after that point, the dealer starts by flipping over his card. You go around the table, each person flips over the card. The card with the highest number wins. The card with the lowest number loses a life, which you get little extra life tokens that are just little Mario Brothers tokens.
Are they the little hearts like in the video game?
No, they're just
Oh, okay.
they're just a little 8-bit Mario, and I think they even have like different.
Oh, it's Mario.
I thought they had some. Nope, they're all the same. They're all just him standing there. I thought there was some that had him running or something like that, but maybe it was my imagination. But to add, so that's the basic part of the game right there. It's just trying not to be the person with the lowest level. And you just keep going around until there's only one person left. However, you're like, that's way too easy. They've got to add a little bit of something to it. Well, yeah. They also have these question mark cards. That you get one of them at the start of the turn. And if it so happens that two people have the same number level when you reveal your levels, you get another one. You get to draw another one from this deck. And this thing has awesome stuff like a super mushroom that gives you a +1 to your level that you can play after the levels are revealed. You can get a fire flower that's a +2. You can get a Koopa Troopa that you can play on somebody else's to give them a -2. So there's all kinds of stuff here that you can do.
Those damn Koopa Troopa.
Exactly. You can get Hammer Bros. They're little hammer guys that this can
Oh, yeah.
you can use that card to stop another player from trading levels with you. So if somebody tries to trade your level and you have this card, you can slap that down and say, nope, I'm going to keep my card. Thank you. The other ones that are kind of fun are the 1-up mushroom, which allows you to steal a life from somebody else. So if you're going to lose and you know you're going to lose, you can play that card at any time, steal a life from somebody, and then, hey, look at that. You got a 1-up and then you lost your life. Best way to stay in the game. There are two others that are super awesome. And there's only one of each of these in the deck, but they are fought over anytime they show up. One of them, super handy, which is the goal pole, which is your little flag at the end. It gives you a +10 to your level.
Surprised it didn't give you a negative, because isn't that where they always tell you, sorry, the princess is in a different castle?
Oh, no, that
womp,
one.
Womp, womp.
Yeah, but no, that's Bowser. When you get Bowser, it makes any level a value of 0. So
he's awesome.
Yeah, so you get him, you play that on anyone else's, you could have a 3, but if the person you're going up against, no matter what number he has, if you've got Bowser, you win. So it's just super fun. The only downside to this game is that the power-ups tend to not get used very often. Partly because you don't end up with very many of them. You start the game with 1, and the only time you can get them, there are only 2 times where you get to draw another power-up. One is if you have the same level as somebody else when you reveal levels. So if two people have 3s, then you each get to draw a power-up. The only other way is if your level is a castle. Castles are special in the sense that you get to draw a question mark card. You cannot have any question mark cards played on you, and you cannot lose a life on that round. It's basically you're safe and out of that round. But there aren't very many of those castles in here. There's only a couple. So your chances of getting to draw more power-ups is slim. So it just kind of takes away from... It really comes down to what level do you have? Do you think the person next to you has higher or lower than you? And do you really, like... and it just plays really fast. It just plays extremely, extremely fast. The box says you can play this in 10 to 30 minutes. We played probably... Now, granted, we didn't have a large number of people. What is it? This plays 3 to 8 players. We've played it with 3 and 4. We've even played it with 2, because of realistically, you can play down to 2. You get down to 2 anyway, because it's last man standing type thing. The person with a life at the end wins. But we've played probably 3 or 4 full games of this in 30 minutes. I mean,
Nice.
It plays really fast, especially once you get the hang of it. And if nobody has any power-ups, it plays even faster. And that's where having more power-ups and having ways to get more power-ups, I think would be good, because then you could double up on the power-ups that everyone has. They can play a little bit more, and you get more of that challenge of, well, yeah, I had the highest number, but the other 2 people had minus stuff that could throw onto me that lowered my number down, and they ended up teaming up against me type thing. I think that could add a lot to, you already have a bluffing mechanic to it. You could end up adding the screw your neighbor mechanic to the game a lot more, with more use of the power-ups. But with all of that said, this game is super fun, and I definitely recommend it. If your kids can read, they can play this game. And if they can't read, all it takes is a little bit of memorization. If they can tell numbers, then they can get it. The only part that comes in tricky is knowing what the power-ups do. But for the most part, most of them are really super easy. They have a -4, a minus number when they lower your level, and they have a plus number when they raise your level. It's just the few other ones that do things like preventing trading, or getting you to look at another player's card before you trade with them.
Okay.
Type thing that become a little tricky for kids that can't read. But
what they should have done, though, is gave you codes with the game that allows you to download the 8-bit sound effects from Super Mario Brothers, and then just tell you which ones to play as you play a card.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I might have to actually go through and find those, because you could find those online, all kinds of different places, and yeah, that would be kind of fun to play those when somebody gets a 1-up.
Yeah. You'd be like the first person to house rule sound effects.
There you go. I like it. I like that idea. I think I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to write me up something, and I could just put those on my phone. That'd be cool.
There you go. I like it.
Because there for a while, my phone actually, those were the sound effects for getting text messages and things like that. I had like the 1-up sound for text messages. I had the what was it? The mushroom that just made you big.
Oh, that noise.
Yep, I had that mushroom sound for when I had notifications on my phone, and then I had the what was it? I think I had the theme song, or like the level song, as my ringtone on my phone for a while. And then I got a new phone and don't have those anymore. So
yeah, see, they need to create an app. So you start it, and it plays the background music for Super Mario Brothers, and then just has pictures of all the cards on it. And when you play that card, you just click on it and it plays that sound effect.
That is
See?
genius.
Thinking outside the box there, baby.
Boom. That is why that guy right there gets paid the big bucks.
That's why, don't try this at home, kids, but whiskey works wonders.
Brings out the ideas. It turns Kip into the idea man. Now
That's
we just
right.
need somebody who can program an app. So if anyone out there knows how to program apps, reach us at geekvice@gmail.com because we have an idea that we want to run by you because that would be awesome.
Patent pending.
There you go. Idea stolen by Kip. This game is made by USAopoly. Then they make a whole bunch of these fun little games. So, yeah, if they're out there listening, they should reach out to Geekvice because we have an idea for you to make your game even better. Get
That's right.
the app.
You can do the EA microtransaction thing with the app.
There you go. And all proceeds go to Geekvice.
Goes to Aaron's PS4 purchase.
There you go. I like it.
Or Morphs. I'm sorry. Even I'm doing it now.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you don't know our real names by now, then what have you been doing for the last 205 episodes?
You must have a life.
Right? So, what board game do you have over there?
I have a game called Quantum by Funforge. Here, let me... That's what the rule book looks like.
Nice.
The box cover looks almost exactly the same, but it doesn't say rules of play on it.
That's probably good. It'd be weird if it did.
It would be weird, but we've seen weirder things.
True.
It's a 2 to 4 player game. Plays about 60 minutes according to the box. And we played on Friday, and 60 minutes seemed to be about right.
Nice.
So they got that part.
So the real question is this one of your one of either yours or Jason's 10 games?
It's one of mine.
There you go.
That's right.
Knocking out another play of the 10.
Got another 10. So this is a 4X game. And for those of you playing at home that don't know what a 4X game is, it's the 4X's. Explore. I know I was going to forget. Exterminate. Expand. And exploit. I did it.
There you go.
Did it. So those are the 4 X's of 4X. And this is basically what the game is. You are in command of a fleet of ships, trying to build quantum cubes, little colored cubes here. Woo! Stream close up.
They're clear.
And you're supposed to build them on planets. Here's a planet. It's a modular board. And the cool thing about it is you can set up the boards in pretty much any design you want, so you can change the game just by changing the layout.
Cool.
And what you have is these really cool dice. So here's a quantum dice.
Nice.
And you can't really tell, but so I brought in a size comparison. This is a standard D6 from a D&D game. You can see how much smaller it is than the D6 from a quantum game.
That's a big dice.
It is a big chunky dice. And this big chunky dice is a ship. So you roll the die. And the higher the number, the faster the ship, but the weaker the ship.
Okay.
So if you roll a 6, it can move 6 spaces, but it sucks in combat.
Okay.
Inversely, a 1 only moves 1 space, but is awesome in combat. And the reason they're awesome in combat is the lower number wins combat.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, so that was different. So if you go up against somebody in combat, say they're a 4, different color ship, different color dice, and you're a 5, you can still attack them even though you have a higher number, because each one of you then rolls one of the combat dice.
Ah.
The black die is for the evil attacker. The clear, I guess it's supposed to be white, die is for the defense. You roll it. Well, I happen to roll 2 3s. So the attacker rolled an 8. Defender rolled a 7. Attacker loses.
Okay. All right.
So that's how combat works on that thing.
So it could end up at a point where the defender rolls too high of a number, even though they might be the lower number ship, but they roll like a 6 to defend on their defense dice and end up being way too high.
Yeah, exactly. And then their ship is destroyed. Everybody gets a player mat, such as this one. Woo! And on this player mat, there's an area called Scrapyard.
Okay.
If your ship gets destroyed, you re-roll it and you set it in the scrapyard. And then on your next turn, one of your actions is deploy ships, and you can put it back on the board around the planet that you have a quantum cube on. The player board is also where you put your quantum cubes that you're trying to spread throughout the galaxy. And there is 2 spots on here in the corners, here and here. One is called Dominance, and the other one is called Research. Every time you win a combat, you move your Dominance dice up 1. It maxes out at 6. Once you get to 6, you obtain Infamy. And what happens there is you roll your dice back down to 1, but you get to place a quantum cube on any planet on the board.
Okay.
Research, one of your actions you can take is to research, and you roll the dice up 1 at a time. Once you get to 6, it's max out, and you've reached what's called a breakthrough. And once you have a breakthrough, there's 2 types of cards to choose from. There's the black deck and the white deck. The white deck are basically bolt-ons to your character board that gives you special abilities. Like this one is when you defend before players roll combat dice, you can decide to destroy both ships. There is no dominance effect. So if you have a 6 out there and a 1 rolls up on you, you can just use that and say, oh, they're both dead. That guy doesn't get his dominance, and you were lost anyway, so you'd sacrifice nothing.
Gotcha. Okay.
The black ones are like effects that you do now. Like this one's immediately move a quantum cube to another planet. Add a ship to your fleet. You start off with 3. Each team, each color, there's 6 dice. 2 of them are one's for research, one's for dominance. 3 are for ships. So there's actually there's 7 dice, sorry. So there's 5, and then you have 2 left over that are just there that you can't add
unless you get that card.
Unless you get the expansion card.
Nice. Okay.
So if you roll yourself some research, you can pick one of these cards. Which helps you out quite a bit. The object of the game, and another reason why they use dice, is back to the player board, or to the board with the planets on it.
Mm-hmm.
This one has an 8.
Yep.
There's 7s and 9s. I don't know if there's anything less than a 7. I think it's 7, 8, 9 are the values. There, it's hard to see on the picture, but orthogonally, the spaces around the planet have little squares in them.
Mm-hmm.
Diagonally do not.
Okay.
So to be in orbit and counted towards the 8, you have to be in one of the spots that has a square in it. And so your dice total around that planet has to equal 8. Not close, not above 8, exactly 8. And then you can put a quantum cube on that planet. If another guy has dice in orbit, his total does not count towards your total. So it's a race to get to 8.
Wow.
Like on this one.
So okay, so with that being said you start off with 3 ships.
Yes.
Do you roll those for their number each turn, or
No.
is it once you roll them they stay that number?
You roll them at the beginning, and that's what they are on your first turn.
So if you don't have 3 dice that add up to, let's say, 9,
right?
Because
you can make it work. So, like, if you have a ship that's a value 4, its special ability is you can change it to a 3 or a 5.
Oh, okay.
So that helps there.
Right.
One of the actions you can take is to re-roll one of your ships.
Ah.
It's called reconfigure, and you can re-roll one of your ships. Well, the nice thing about that is one of the rules is if you re-roll a ship and you come up with the same number, you can roll it again until you don't come up with the same number.
Okay.
So if you had a 6, you rolled it and got a 6 again, you're not stuck with the 6. You can roll it again until you get a number other than 6.
Interesting. Well, that really helps, because I'm like, otherwise you could end up where you couldn't get any of them because you don't have the right numbers.
Exactly, and if you have a 6, its special thing is you can just re-roll it.
Oh, just for the hell of
it. For its special action, you can just re-roll it, and now have a new ship. So you're not stuck with the 3 numbers you rolled for the game.
There's ways to get other numbers.
Plus, if you play against Jason, he will attack you and your ships will get killed and you'll be re-rolling them anyway. But so you're not stuck with those numbers, which is pretty cool. And I think there's some cards in here that also allow you to change numbers and things like that on there. So the winner of the game is the person who places all their quantum cubes in the galaxy map. The trick is, like, we'll just keep pulling out our handy 8 value planet.
Mm-hmm.
You have your values of 8. You placed your quantum cube. Next turn, you can't just place another quantum cube there just because you still have the value 8. You cannot have 2 quantum cubes of your own on a planet unless there's no other place to put one.
Okay.
Then that's the only time you can double up.
So it forces.
So you can't
that's how you get your expansion, because you're going to have to force if the game forces you to move around.
You have to move around. So that's
smart.
That is a good rule. In keeping with tradition of playing a game with me, we played on Friday, and we overlooked to that rule, and the person we were playing with, Celeste, just kept staying at planets and getting the maximum cubes she could there, and then moving on, and of course she won the game. And it's like, yeah, that went too fast. We did something wrong. And then I looked it up. Went, oh yeah, you couldn't have done that. So, that's par for the course when you're playing a board game with me.
Sure.
Yeah. So I find this game relatively fun. You look at the rules, you look at the ships, the nice big dice, the cool quantum cubes, the special powers on the cards, and the easy combat and all that, and I'm like, man, this game is right in my wheelhouse. I've played it a couple times now, and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't as fun as I thought it was going to be.
Really?
Yeah. Jason loves the game. He thinks it's fantastic, and I will play it again if it's on my challenge list. So I need to play it at least 9 more times. But if Jason says I want to play it, I will. Right. But it's not one of those games where I'm like, man, I'm itching to play that again.
Okay.
And I don't know why, because all the aspects there are what I like to play.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because it's just the way you talk, like just describing it, it's like, man, that sounds like a lot of fun, and it it sounds simplistic in the idea behind it, with enough complexity to make you to like keep you engaged. You know,
Yeah.
like some games, just especially games like 4X games or some of the longer like more into games, like they can either
Like
get
Twilight Imperium.
yeah, you can either go super super simple to where it just becomes boring, or you can go so complex that it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like this one seems like the way you describe it, like it's got a good balance of that to where it's got just enough to make you decide what you want to do and how you want to expand your fleet or build your fleet. Um, but enough simplicity that really you're just trying to get a certain number at each, you know, at a planet. So you said the end goal is to get. Well, I guess the first question is, does this game have multiple ways to win like a lot of 4X games do?
Nope.
It's
There's only
just
one way to win. There's only the one way to win.
get the most
There's
cubes on the most planets.
get all your cubes on the
Or all
planets.
your
First one to
cubes.
place their last cube wins.
Okay. Okay.
And
And do planets have a certain like? Is it you can place as many on there as you want as long as, or do they only have like, hey, this planet only can hold 2 and this one can only hold 3 and
yep. So a 7 planet only has. You can see that little square in the middle of the
yeah.
planet. You can only put 1.
Okay.
8, there's 2 squares, so you can put 2. And of course, 9 has 3 squares, so you can put 3.
Okay. Now,
So,
how do you take other people's cubes off of there if you need to put one on?
that's the thing. Once a cube is on there, it does not come off. There's nothing you can do about it.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think that's why the game plays in 60 minutes or less, because
because you eventually just run out of,
yeah. And I think, and it's not, I think, I know that you only get 5 cubes to start, to fulfill your destiny. So you only have to place 5 to win. But
Makes sense.
yeah,
That's really
it's a good
cool.
game. Like I said, it's a good game. And every time I get done playing, it's like I was right there on the edge of really liking this game, but something just didn't work for me. And I think maybe it's because we screwed the rules up, and it just went by too fast. I'm not 100% sure. I look forward to the next play to see if that my opinion changes.
Sure.
I've had this game 3 years now, and I've played it twice, so that kind of gives you an idea.
Right. Well, so on Board Game Geek, it's got a 7.3 rating out of 10.
Yeah, it's ranked. It's
So it's
rated
rated
high,
up
and
there
if you
pretty
watch
high.
any
Now-
board game reviewers on the game, they love the game.
Well, and here's really the interesting part, or the part that I find interesting. So they put a weight to it, a complexity rating to these as well. This one, dead nuts in the middle. It's a 2.47 out of 5. That's just right down the middle. That's just that. I think, to me, that's a sweet spot for a all ages game. I know this game says it's a 13 plus. Board Game Geek says 10 plus. You could probably, just from the little bits that you told me, you could probably even go a little bit lower. Just because that complexity is just right there in the middle. So
It is, and the strategy, to me, there's only 3 ways to go. You can be the bully and fight everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and get dominance, which allows you to place cubes. You could be the researcher and just constantly be rolling that research dice and getting cards with the powers, and then use that to your advantage. Or the other way is to just get to the planets as fast as possible, avoid conflict, and place your cubes.
Yeah.
Um,
Roll your dice or use the ability of your ships to get the right number.
exactly. And, just get to the closest planets to you, place a cube, move on.
Yeah.
To me, that's a viable strategy. Last time I played on Friday, I tried to be a little bit of everything. I tried to get my research and my dominance up as fast as possible, plus just getting to planets as quickly as I could. So I tried to have it all, I guess. And one of the guys we were playing, Jason, his strategy was just to go out and he rolled really low. So he had 2 1 ships and 1 2 ship, I think it was. So he was powerful.
Yeah.
So his goal was just to go out there and wreak havoc.
Sure.
Get into combat, and do his thing. And, it was working. He was getting some cubes down, and then finally I had enough, and I attacked him a couple times, and he lost, and he and I ended up in about the same spot, as far as getting our cubes down at the end of the game. Of course, with Celeste, we didn't play the game right, so I'm not sure how it would have worked out for her if we wouldn't have allowed the multiple cubes on the same planet thing.
Sure.
So I'm not sure which strategy would have worked in this game for that particular quest, but I'm curious to go into each one with a different strategy and just see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And see if that changes my opinion on it. Another thing is the beginner games, it has this perfect square layout that they recommend. It's 7, 8s, and 9s, and and it's a nice rectangular pattern, and you can move around fairly well. And then after you get that down, then they've got suggested maps. You can create your own maps. I think, having branches off where there's gaps where you have to go around to get to a planet. I think that could really add some complexity to the game. So I'm looking forward to giving that a try as well.
On that same note, so we didn't talk about movement at all. How do you move? I know that you only count if you're in the north, south, east, west sides of the planet. Can you still move in the diagonals? Is that how you move between planet to planet?
The only ship that can move diagonally is the number 5 ship. Everything else is orthogonally. So it takes a little while to get somewhere.
So can you move through a planet, or do you have to
You cannot move through a planet. You've got to go around them.
Okay. So you can move in those corner spaces of the cards that don't have that don't count as towards the planet. Those can be used for movement around, but they just don't count towards the planet. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
So, yeah, and there's specific things that you can do, like the number 2 ship. You can actually pick up another one of your ships and move it with it, and then place it on any side of the 2 ship that you want. So you could pick up your number 1 powered ship, move 2 spaces, and then place your number 1 ship on the other side of it, and basically moving your one ship 3 spaces.
Ah.
Yeah. So there's some tricks to moving these things around, and like I said, there's a lot of strategy and things you can do. That's why I'm surprised that I walk away still feeling kind of flat about this game, because it's all there.
Yeah.
Everything I like about a game that's there.
This game almost sounds like one that you need to have this 10 by 10 challenge. You need to play this game a bunch of times to really get a good feel for it, because there is so much there. You play it the first time and it might not... You might not have just... You've played it twice now. You might not have found your sweet spot for it, the way you like to play that game yet.
Yeah,
because
and that could be the case.
So many different options. Because this game sounds awesome.
Yeah. Um,
Well, I won't tell you that I need to borrow this game because I know it's in your 10 by 10 and you need to get that. You need to get
well,
your
you
10
just need
times
to
as
show up
yours.
on a
So
Friday so you can play.
maybe that is what I need to do because that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I'm going to play it more than maybe I can recommend it. Um, I think Jason and Celeste liked it quite a bit, so I'm pretty sure I'm not going to speak for them too much, but I think they would recommend it. Um, I don't know. I'm hoping with play 2, 3, 4, 5 on up to 10, I start to just really love the game. I hope I
Yeah,
do
yeah,
because it's all there. I mean, awesome dice, easy to pick up rules, modular board that you can set in any configuration. What's not to like?
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, that is really cool, and that is our board games of the week. I should have like a little like sound for that. Board game of the week, week. I don't know. It's
Yeah, I think so. Maybe getting Billy to play some sort of riff on the guitar in there,
yeah. There
and
you go.
yeah. But as a side note, we did get to play another session of Shadows over Camelot,
Yeah.
and we played with the trader card included. The way it's set up is you have so many trader cards. There's only one trader card, and then there's so many loyal cards, and there's more cards in that deck than players.
Okay.
So you don't know if there's a trader or if there's not a trader. So
Right.
we played with the trader card included, but it ended up not getting passed out. So we were all loyal, and we got our butts handed to us. The game whipped our asses. We stood no chance.
Was some of that the fact that you guys kind of thought one of you was the traitor, and so you didn't work as well together, or
I think there was that. I think there was times where we should have went. This quest is getting nowhere. We should just throw numbers at it and get it taken care of, and we didn't. We had maybe one or two people over there making no progress at all, while the others went off on their own quests doing things, and we ended up paying the ultimate price for it. We didn't stand a chance.
that's kind of funny. Throw that traitor in there, and you guys fall apart,
Yeah.
and there wasn't
So
even a traitor.
that's 3 plays, one which we won, and then 2 that we've lost. So to me, that's a good sign of a good co-op game is when it's hard enough that you actually do lose,
Yes.
and we've lost more than we've won so far. So I love that game.
Yeah.
You get to be one of the Knights of the Round Table, and there's fighting and all sorts of good stuff in there, and we lost. So hopefully we'll get it to the table again this Friday, and maybe we'll improve our win-loss record.
There you go. That's what I like to hear. Alright, everybody, I think that is a good place to end this episode. We've got some board games for you. John's played Quantum. I played Super Mario Brothers Power Up card game. John's has mixed feelings on Quantum. Really, really wants to like it, but hasn't quite fallen into his niche yet. I recommend Super Mario Bros. Power Up card game. You should go check it out. I'm sure you could find it at any of your local game stores, as well as probably Target, because Target seems to
Probably.
sell USAopoly games a lot. But that's all we've got there. So the other stuff you could do is check out our blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/geekvice. You can also subscribe. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at tiny.cc/geekvice. We're on Twitter. That man over there at Kip Killigan. I'm on there at Geekvice. And of course, you can always email us at geekvice@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on our board games and any board games you want us to review and play. Let us know at geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks everyone for listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next time.
Later.
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.